Hello, my friends. Perlo Wisdom here from R&J Media and the Ice Guys. The Ice Guys voted best betting podcast in North America last year, and only doing hockey. Best sports betting podcast, but only doing hockey. So clearly the best hockey podcast in North America last year. Hockey betting, anyways. And I'm coming today with you with the Chicago Blackhawks and their season preview, as well my projections of how they may do in the season, what direction they may go. We're going to look at the roster, forwards and defensemen. We're going to be going in deep, talking about that. R&J Media, be looking out for my new channel with R&J Media Sports called Puck in Deep. So if you enjoy going deep into the goings on of the NHL, trades, games, and the ability to also purchase my NHL picks for like a very small price. Oh my gosh, it's like barely anything out of your pocket and you make oodles and oodles of money. Last year was absolutely fantastic for me. You can be part of that. But let's look at the Chicago Blackhawks this year. There's a lot of people that are very high on Chicago this year. And I see the reason why. Actually, you know what? My initial thinking was I was a little bit on that side too. So maybe, am I still that way? Do I still look at that way after looking in deep into Chicago? Let's take a look, shall we? All right, going to Puckopedia. Oh, I missed Cat Friendly. Sorry, Mr. Puckopedia, but Cat Friendly was a lot better. All right, so Puckpedia, they have this as the first line, and usually with Cat Friendly and Puckpedia, they usually have a little bit of discussion with certain people in the organization as to how they, how it may start out anyways, that their lines will be put together in their depth chart. So I'm going to go with that for now. Start off with Donato, Bedard, and Burakovsky. Ryan Donato is a player that is really solid from the blue line in, offensive blue line that is in. Within the confines of that space, he is doggish on the puck. He gets into spots where he can shoot from. He's a very smart player offensively, high IQ that way. He's not known specifically for his shot, but like I said, he's very smart. He knows how to get open. He knows how to be available for passes, and he's pretty quick off the line. He's pretty quick off the puck, or in his skating. So he can dart in and out. Not the biggest guy in the world, but not afraid to mix it up either, especially in the offensive zone. The only problem we have with Donato is he is not very effective in all three zones defensively. A lot of players aren't, though. And Chicago at this point, I don't think is all that worried about that when it comes to Ryan Donato. They have fairly sparse scoring all over their lineup, and anybody who has the ability to play at a high level and score. Sorry, his finishing actually is very good. Sorry, shooting is actually very good. Good playmaker. Played against pretty high competition, but the defensive side of the game is where he kind of struggles a little bit. He's in the lower below average as far as defensive style is concerned, defensive ability is concerned. Now, that being said, in Chicago, I'm not sure he was asked too much to do that. Also, something else you have to take into account when you're looking at Ryan Donato, although even previous to his other places that he played for, he wasn't very good defensively as well. One thing you got to take into consideration is that Chicago played from behind quite a bit. And when teams play from behind, defensive responsibility is not the focus. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a mulligan on that. He has had years where he was right about average and play driving around average as well. So he's fairly skilled, and good play driving. He's not really what you would call a top line player. He wouldn't normally play on the top line on most teams, but in Chicago, where they have scoring issues, he has done fairly well with kind of limited minutes. They don't play him a lot, but he does pretty well. Surprisingly, not very good on the power play, but the whole team wasn't very good on the power play, so I'm not really going to put that on him. Next, of course, we have to look at Connor Bedard. Connor Bedard is another one who has been diabolical in his career defensively, like basically non-existent. Again, though, it's in a situation where there's not much scoring on this team, and that's basically what his main focus has been. And also the fact that, again, they play from behind a lot. So when you're playing from behind, when the team's playing from behind, defense is usually not the focus. So he doesn't get really much opportunity to play that sort of way. Last year specifically, Sorensen came in for Richardson, who was trying to get his team to play defensive, and it really wasn't working. And it felt that Bedard's scoring was stunted from what I read. So when Sorensen came in, he gave him kind of free rein to go out there and shoot and score. Now that being said, he got poo-pooed a lot on by people last year that I heard saying that, oh, he's not as good as we thought and all of that sort of thing. He was in his sophomore season, and he was on a team where if you took out Bedard offensively, you kind of took out the whole team offensively. So much more focus was on Bedard. His first year, his point production was a little better. And that's common. Even though he is a number one pick or what have you, teams really don't give players credit until they show it. And so when they go into their next year, their sophomore year, there's two things that happen, actually. There's much more focus on from other teams towards you. The second thing that often happens is players bulk up a lot after that first year. And Bedard is focusing on bulking up and becoming stronger. And when that happens, it changes the complexity of how you play the game. Players have to learn how to play with this extra bulk. And it can affect your speed, it can affect your timing, all kinds of stuff like that. So I expect to see more offense from Bedard, a better Bedard this year. I think you're going to see him be kind of going on the trajectory that everybody thought he would be, to tell you the honest truth. I'm not worried about Connor Bedard at all. He drives play not bad. He has played against elite competition at 20 years old. In other words, his coach has put him up against the top players in the league. And he's fared fairly well for a 20-year-old. Not bad at all. Andre Burakovsky now is brought in. Interesting pickup from Seattle. It's Andre Burakovsky is kind of a weird player in the sense that when he was in Colorado, he actually was very good defensively. He was a very good three-zone defensive player. Not bad at all. Above average. And he had a beautiful shot. He likes to come off the wing and just peg her. And he kind of lost it when he went to Seattle, and I really can't put my finger on why that is. We'll see how it goes for him here in Chicago, where I'm sure they're going to try to bring him back to where he was in his Colorado days. I don't know. I know he had some injuries, and that might have had something to do with it. It may be that he just hasn't really totally recovered. Maybe that he never will recover. But one thing is true, that he was fully capable mentally of knowing how to play strong defensively. And I think that's very important here, because I believe Chicago is going to be going that direction this year. For those, including me, that initially kind of thought to myself, geez, they could be much better this year, I'm actually not going that direction now. Because with hiring Blashill, and I didn't note this to begin with, Blashill is a coach who really stresses defense. It's a very simple defense. It's not a very complex defense, but he really stresses it a lot. And he really stresses players not overcommitting in the offensive zone, not flying the zone, all of those sort of things. And Andre Burakovsky is very aware how to do that mentally in his mind. He's very intelligent, but maybe his body isn't allowing him to do what he mentally knows how to do. But he can teach players to do it, and that could be part of the reason why they brought him in. Now we go to the second line where we have Teuvo Teravainen, Frank Nazar, and Tyler Bertuzzi. Tyler Bertuzzi is about as average of a third line player as you can get. He is very physical, which is always good for a team. He will stick up for his teammates, and he does so as well as being able to play. He can score a little bit. He's not going to ruin you he's coachable. He's willing to play. He has a tendency to kind of play in the offensive zone, looking for hits and running around a little bit. But for the most part, he's tightened that up quite a bit in his older age. It was more of an issue when he was younger. So I think he's a great guy to have on any team, and he's a really good guy to have on a young team like this. I like Tyler Bertuzzi here on the second line. Frank Nazar. Now, this kid's only 21 years old, and last year he showed an ability to be a very intelligent player. The guy he reminds me of actually is Dylan Larkin in Detroit. He's got a lot of offensive upside. He doesn't have a huge shot. He doesn't really have any specific high offensive skills, but he has above average in a lot of area, and he's a very intelligent player. He's also extremely high competitor. By the way, so is Ryan Donato. You see a lot of that in the team altogether, to tell you the honest truth. The compete level on this team is very high, which is important. You look at a team like Florida, something like that. But there's nothing but upside for this kid. How many points will he get? I'm not really sure, because I do think that they're going to be focusing more on defense. And I can't say that he's an above average defensive player at the moment at all. He's probably a little bit below. But for 21, he's really not that bad and looks like he's trending upward quickly. So I think this is going to be a really fantastic player. Question is, how is it going to be next year? I think you'll see improvement still, but probably more into the average side of things. Who knows with young players too? Sometimes they can just bloom and boom like that. But general trajectory, he's probably not what you would call a for sure second line guy on most deep playoff teams. So, but at his age, 21, this kid's looking great. Teuvo Teravainen. Now here's a guy who is very underrated in 3-zone defensive play. He's excellent. Quite often what happens when we're looking at players from eye test is if they're not physical, we think they're not very good defensively. Teravainen is not what you would call a physical guy. He's not very big, but he's extremely intelligent, and he's very good positionally in all 3 zones. And he's very good at producing offense while he's doing it too. Great, very good, excellent playmaker, solid second line player. I think he would be a solid second line player on most teams, to tell the honest truth. So I really like this second line moving forward for them. This year, like I said, they're going to have their struggles and stuff, but I think you're going to see steady improvement in all of them. Teravainen's 31 years old. I don't know if he'll be still sticking around with the team come the trade deadline. He could be somebody that they could use. Andre Burakovsky also could have been part of that. As well. They could have been looking for him to have a bigger point production than he did in Seattle, increasing his value and maybe getting some picks from there. Chicago's depth chart and prospect pool is getting pretty deep though, so we'll see if they are interested in building more and more prospects into their pool this way, or if they're going to use guys like Burakovsky to help the kids that they already have down the road. Next, Colton Dach, Jason Dickinson, and Ilya Mikheyev. I'm going to start here with Ilya Mikheyev. He had a sensational year defensively last year. really good. He actually got one vote for the Selkie last year, and my friend Alex at Ice Guys questioned it. I remember him saying, Mikheyev, really? He did have a sensational year last year. He really bloomed in that department, and he's a pretty quick guy. I say little, but he's not. He's 6'2", 192. Doesn't play overly offensive, but man, or physically, but he's no shrinking violet either. He uses his body to get around the ice, and he leans on people, and he doesn't back down from anybody. He's got a motor on him, and he's really competitive. I really like him a lot. And in this third line role, I think he's a very effective third liner. And Jason Dickinson beside him is the same. Ilya Mikheyev didn't play against the competition that Jason Dickinson did. Jason Dickinson played elite competition out of this role. He played against everybody's top lines, more than just about any other player, more than any other player on the team. The rest of the players here varied from average to about 60%, which isn't normal for a team. But Sorensen really didn't worry about matching lineups too much. He challenged his players to play against everybody. But Dickinson was one guy that was used and has always been used against elite players and has done extremely well. I love Jason Dickinson as a third center. I hope for the Edmonton Oilers, my team, that they are able to acquire him somewhere along the line. He is on a contract year this year, so who knows? But if your team's looking for a third line center, I'd be looking for a guy like Jason Dickinson. Doesn't produce all that much offense and really doesn't drive offense all that much. But he's a great veteran player to help guys like Colton Dach, who they have on this line right now, who I think they project to be similar in that role, except much more physical than Jason Dickinson. He's got a long way to go right now. He's still in the infancy of his NHL career, and he's got a lot to learn. But I imagine the size is very important. He's willing to stick up for his teammates, and that's not like something they have huge amount of in this lineup. So I think unless he really drops the ball, he's probably going to get a pretty good shot here. On most teams, he'd be a fourth liner right now. He may even be in the AHL, helping to produce more offense, allowing him to get better at his skills and offensive abilities and all of that. But I think Colton Dach, for the most part here, is going to get a shot to be that third line player that every team needs. As far as that's concerned, this third line, I actually don't mind it at all. I'd say it's actually really good. It's probably the best line out of all of them for what their job is to do. I really like this line. When you get down to Nick Foligno, and it could be a third line player in a lot of teams. He's getting up there. He's 38 years old. He does produce points not too bad. They put him up on the top line every once in a while. And I think part of the reason why they do that, they'll move him up and down the lineup, is to help guys like Frank Nazar and Bedard to learn the finer points of the game. The Folignos have always been good, intelligent, three-zone defensive players. His brother is even better in Minnesota, but he is still very good. Doesn't produce much offense, but he knows the finer parts of the game, and he will stick up for his teammates quite a bit as well. He's a pretty tough dude. All the Folignos are. So he's a great character guy to have on a young team like this, and I understand why they paid him as much as they did. I think they've done a really good job of putting veterans here that can help their young players by being an example and with their knowledge. We talked about Detroit. I did Detroit there just recently, and I noted how I don't think Stevie Yzerman figured this out in Detroit, but Chicago has. Sam Lafferty, fourth line guy, energy guy, very intense. He's an intense player. I wouldn't say his overall game is very good, but his intensity is off the charts. One thing you can never take away from Sam Lafferty is his compete level and his intensity playing the game. He's a very serious study of the game. He doesn't provide you much offense or anything like that. I think Sam Lafferty is more or less brought in here to really inspire young players and the team itself to not give up play hard every day. Sam Lafferty doesn't take a night off. And it's an important thing to have in veterans to show players that you want to get to the point where you're really seldom taking a night off, if any at all. Landon Slager, again, young player. I don't know. There's other players I think that could take his role here. They have him in there. Like I would probably rather Oliver Moore, but he's a young guy. They might want to develop his offense more in the AHL. I noticed that Lucas Reichel isn't in here, and I don't blame them because Lucas Reichel is just not developed at all. I think eventually, if he keeps things up here, I don't know if his NHL career is going to be too far away from being no more and him ending up in Europe. He just has not developed. But they went out and got Dominic Toninato from Winnipeg. He can, provide a role every once in a while. But I think Oliver Moore probably will get more of a shot and replace a guy like Landon Slager. But overall, it's a fourth line, does what fourth lines do. Now going to defense, Alex Vlasic. Very high on Alex Vlasic. Very solid defensive player for his age, for a young player. He's still got a lot to learn, but he's growing, and he's going to be a solid number one defenseman in the league for a long time. Certainly helps that he's 6'6", 216. Sturdy boy. Going to be an excellent defenseman, have no problem. Sam Rinzel came in and just blew everybody out of the water. He was absolutely fantastic. After he was drafted, I think was it in the second or first round? I can't remember. I think it might have been late first round. He's just skyrocketed, and his confidence has gone way up. His offensive ability is excellent. He's actually pretty good defensively. For a 21-year-old kid, I mean, you wouldn't put him in elite status, but I think he's heading possibly that way. He's that good. But again, these are very young, but he's big, he's solid, he's a big boy, probably going to add some weight over the summer. He's 190 right now. You probably want to see him over 200, but solid player. Can't say enough. The future on defense is looking bright. Artem Levshinov, slick, very good passing defenseman that is still learning the finer points of the game. Brought him up last year. He played 18 games, put him on the power play, let him get his feet wet. I don't know. I think it's possible you could see more AHL time for him. He's only 20 years old, and he's still, I think it would be better to develop. Is he good enough to be on this team? Probably, but that's not a good thing because the depth on this team is a little light. So I would rather see a veteran like Connor Murphy take that spot. And let him play a lot more. Wyatt Kaiser, again, looks like he's going to be a solid defenseman. Notice I'm saying this a lot. Gonna be. Because they're going to be. They're really good for their age, but I wouldn't put them in a category where they are going to compete for playoff type players. I really wouldn't. And Kevin Korchinski, a lot of people have soured on this guy, and he really is slow his development has been a little bit on the slow side. He's still only 21 years old, though. He's a good skater, and he has good size. Overall, he's got all the skills to be an NHL player. He's just got to put the package together as being a pro defenseman, learning the finer parts of the game as a defenseman. I'm not sure if he's going to get a chance this year to play the full season in the NHL. After what's last year, I still think it'd probably be best to him continue to develop in the AHL, which would leave some spots open. And I think there's some guys that might be pretty on defense that they haven't shown here that might get a pretty good chance to play on the defense. Now I'm just looking for him as I speak here. Press box. Oh, Nick Lardis. There we go. Okay. Nolan Allen had a really good shot last year. 22 years old. He was given a shot. He didn't play too bad. I think you're going to see a lot of these players go in and out of the lineup. But the one guy that I really like that could take one of these spots from some of the young guys I was talking about is Ethan Del Mastro. Ethan Del Mastro played extremely well here last year. They're not showing him in the lineup on Puckpedia, but I would be very surprised if he's not a guy to take one of those young guys' spots and let them percolate in the minors a little longer. Probably Kevin Korchinski, I would think, would have that. I think Kevin Korchinski, he's ready. He's ready. He looks good. He's a strong defensive presence. I don't think he needs overly all that development. He doesn't have a huge ceiling, but he is looking like a very solid third pair, maybe even more defenseman, and he's more ready right now than Kevin Korchinski. So I would put him in there. Spencer Knight, of course, just got that fine contract at 4.5, or was it 5 point something million for Spencer Knight. This helps out a lot, having a more solid presence in goal especially when you have Blashill, who I believe is really going to be focused on system here. The wins and losses, I don't think with Blashill is going to be the most important thing this year. It's going to be learning a solid system and every player buying in to coming back being in your spots in the neutral zone, being in your spots in the defensive zone, not overplaying offensively, not taking high risks, knowing who you are. Some players, of course, you can take higher risks because it's not as much of a risk, like Bedard and Teravainen and guys like that know where their offensive abilities can allow them to get back into the spots. And I think that's going to be a focus. And there's a huge learning curve to that. And this is a year that you might as well do it. Because honestly, deep down, I think the organization knows that they would rather get one of those lottery picks again this year than try to strive for a playoff spot and fall out in like 9th or 10th. I think it's possible this team could do something like that if they just went balls out offense and out energied teams all year like Montreal did last year. But I don't think it's wise, and I think Blashill's smart enough to know that it's probably not a good idea. You got Soderblom there, who has his moments, and he has his moments, you know what I mean? But I think in a backup position, it's fine. So I would say I'm thinking that Chicago is going to be, again, a top 5 lottery pick. Most of these young players, they may start off really good. You got that coach bump, the new coach, and excitement. He's probably going to let them play, feel good about themselves, feel good that they're scoring, feel good as a team, and then he'll slowly start putting the structure in. And when you have when a team has young players like this, it takes a while for young players to learn to get used to the physicality of the NHL and have their bodies prepared for it and being prepared for it mentally and everything over an 82-game season. Usually young teams like this fade down the stretch, and I probably will see this in Chicago. So I'm still saying they're going to be bottom 5 lottery team. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. You can go to my Twitter, NHL Perlo's NHL POW, and you'll get all my content. Ability to I put picks there when the NHL gets started. Actually, you can get my futures. If you tap, I have a community that you can go to, and if you're part of my community in Twitter, you're going to get a really good deal on my best bet picks and prop picks that I did absolutely enormous on last year. I just absolutely crushed it. You get it'll barely cost you what, maybe 10 coffees in a month to pay for it if you're in that group. If you're not, it's going to cost you a little more, but it's still going to be affordable. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks for listening. Go check out my other videos. We did Detroit, San Jose, Winnipeg, Seattle, Colorado and Columbus. Go to the Ice Guys, as I mentioned. Subscribe. You don't want to miss that because those guys are absolutely unbelievable. And I'm fortunate to be on the show with them. They're fantastic cappers. And you can sub up there and you can look at my preseason predictions for those teams. Only cost you $10 on their Patreon. Have a great day, everybody. Okay.